Hi, I'm Louise Ledbrook and welcome to today's episode where we're talking about how boundaries create daily improvements. Now, if you haven't heard the word boundaries, then most likely you don't have any in place. And if you have heard the word boundaries, chances are you don't consistently use them to support your health and success. Welcome to the Less is More for Leaders podcast, the ultimate guide for leaders who want to achieve more by doing less. I'm Louise Ledbrook, a high-performance productivity coach and business leader with over 20 years experience. Get ready for a life-changing ride as my guests and I explore how you can create space in your life to focus on what truly matters, both in business and in your personal life. We'll be sharing simple yet powerful strategies and stories of success, so get ready to unleash your full potential. So females, and especially female leaders, are terrible at boundaries. We feel guilt or obligation to do all of the things for the home, for the work, for our family, for our business, teammates, etc. The list goes on, right? We feel like we must prove our commitment to the world through doing it all. Yeah? But our lack of boundaries for ourselves is detrimental to our health. I get it, all right? I get it. No one likes limitations being put on themselves. We fear that restriction. It feels like we're being controlled, right? And constrained, right? But we need to change the perspective. We need to change the story on what boundaries create for us, right? Boundaries actually give us control. We get to choose what they are, when they are, who they are, whatever it happens to be, right? And if you have a good why behind your boundaries, it even helps alleviate that guilt, yeah? And if we stick to them, it will actually support our success in all areas of our life. We're going to talk about what is a boundary, why we don't like our boundaries, or the term boundaries essentially, like what does it kind of conjure up for us, and why they're important for your success. So we're going to talk about that because I need you to start thinking about some boundaries for yourself. Yeah. So when I first got sick, I had chronic fatigue syndrome. I didn't even know what limits or boundaries were, let alone creating them for myself, you know. I felt like I had limitations. I felt like they'd been imposed on me, right, through my illness. But I definitely did not create healthy boundaries that would create long-term good health and success in my life and my business. I literally pushed until I collapsed. Sometimes literally I have numerous head injuries to kind of prove it. I passed out and knocked myself out on more than one occasion. And that was the sign that I used to determine, I've pushed past my limit. I think I've pushed myself a bit too far. Let me tell you, that is not a good system. There are so many things wrong with your limitation or your boundary, or your sign that you've hit your limitation is that you collapse in a heap and do yourself even further damage like I did. Yeah. So no one told me to work out what a healthy boundary was for myself. Yeah. No one even said, oh, you have a limitation. You should probably try and work within that, right? Yes, they said you should rest and recover and look after yourself. But what does that mean? Like, where do I stop? You know, like no one ever told me how to do that. A boundary is a rule or a line that you decide is right for you in relation to you being able to live your best life and achieve all of your goals, right? This is about you. This is a limitation that you create for you. When I was diagnosed with CFS, I was only 18 and I wanted to finish high school so I could go on to uni, and I had all of these big dreams of things that I wanted to do, but no one told me, if you still want to do those things, Louise, this is what you're going to have to do, right? You're going to have to stay within these boundaries. You need to make sure that you do it at this pace. Like, you know, no one told me any of that. So I just tried to do them all and I failed miserably. Yeah, over and over. Eventually, I finished high school. Went to uni, started businesses, blah, blah, blah. But I had to work that all out. I had to learn how to do all of that. I had to understand and teach myself, oh, okay, I need to work within my limitations. Yeah, I need to create a boundary so that I don't push past my limits, so that I can extend that boundary, right? So the thing about the boundary is once you put it in place, it's not a set and forget. This isn't the forever boundary. This is the boundary that you choose for this time in your life, for whatever's going on for you in your life, your business, your health, your relationships, whatever it happens to be for this time in your life. Okay, I think that's really important because some people kind of feel constrained about this is forever. No, the point of it is that we get to choose it or we get to extend it in the future. And by creating that boundary, it gives us that potential to extend it in the future. So by me creating those boundaries, right, I was able to extend them as I recovered, my health progressed, I could do more things and different things changed in my life. Like what I needed for myself when I was studying at university, and I studied and worked at the same time. Man, that was a tough gig while having chronic fatigue syndrome. And so those boundaries that I needed in that time are different from today, where I have a family, I have my own businesses, and I get to choose a lot more of my hours and my flexibility and how hard I push, and I like to take care of my body and exercise. And so if I want to be able to do those things, I need to flex different boundaries. Yeah. And I also know, right, that there are different times in my career where I've felt this pressure to perform. Now, this is really critical, especially for female leaders, to acknowledge this, because honestly, I felt as a woman that I had to work harder to get the same level of respect and recognition that my male counterparts did. And I know that's not always the same today, but it is still the same today. And even if it's better, we still feel this pressure, right? And that in itself means that we push ourselves really hard, yeah? Sometimes to breaking point. And I did that. I pushed myself off the ledge time and time again, yeah? Because I had no boundaries, yeah? And sometimes choosing yourself and setting that boundary for yourself gains the respect of people just through your energy. Yeah, just by you standing up and saying, this is my boundary because I choose my health as well as my work, and I can still achieve the amazing outcomes for you, but this is my boundary. Yeah. And anyone that doesn't like that, they can get stuffed, to be totally honest, because this is your life and your health. Yeah. Only you can control that. Nobody else. Yeah. So the word boundary often feels like a restriction, some form of control or constraint or confinement, yeah? Therefore, we see it as a negative. We perceive it as a negative, yeah? So we don't like it and we don't do it. Yes, it is a constraint, but it's a way for you to control your life and well-being. It's a way for you to control your success, for you to take the control. It's a constraint that you impose actually on the outside world. Think of it more like a constraint on the outside world, not on yourself. Yeah? Okay? Because if you don't put those constraints in place, if you don't put those controls in place, you know who gets to control? Everyone else. Everyone else controls your life. Yeah? By them asking you to do things that you don't want to do, but you say yes to because you don't have any controls or constraints in place, by them having expectations of you that you have allowed through no boundaries, by them continuously pushing you because you allow it past your limits because you don't know even what those limits are because you never stop to think about it and go, hang on, how far should I allow myself to be pushed, or should I allow myself to push myself? Yeah. So what boundaries allows me is it gives myself a stopping point so that tomorrow I have just as much energy as I do today. Yeah? Don't let exhaustion be the stopping point. Don't let falling in a heap at the end of the day, flopping into bed or flopping on the couch going, I can't even adult, I can't even life. Like, that can't be the boundary because it's unhealthy, because long term, if you push, and that's the stopping point every day, at some stage, you fall in a heap. Yeah? At some stage, something knocks you down. It can be an illness. It can be, you get cancer, because cancer is totally stress induced. So just, be conscious of that. All of these systemic health conditions that we have, these chronic health conditions that we have, are as a result of society and the pressures that we put on ourselves. So you get to choose whether you live that life. You get to choose whether you continue to live that societal pressure, or you choose you and go, actually, I can still be amazing because I am amazing, damn it. But I can also be healthy and amazing and happy and free and have lots of money. You can have all those things, right? But you have to take notice and put certain strategies in place. Now, boundaries, don't get me wrong, boundaries is not the only answer. Yeah, it is one of the answers to creating a thriving life. It is one of the answers to having the life that you deserve. Yeah, but it's a definite great start. Obviously you have your boundaries, and then within those boundaries you need to be productive and yada yada. So there's a whole lot of other things that need to go in there. But start with the boundary in the first place. Choose a boundary. When do you stop working? Not because you're exhausted. When do you stop working, right? It's not because you can't keep your eyes open anymore. That can't be the reason, because I think that, you'll get this in other episodes, but that has an impact on your sleep, because if you stop because you're exhausted and you can't keep your eyes open, you may fall asleep, but your quality of sleep is impacted. Yeah. And so the next day you're actually not your best self. Anyway, that's a whole nother episode. Anyway, what you need to know is that by you choosing these boundaries, restrictions, limits, controls, whatever you want to call them, is that it gives you control, right? It gives you the power to make choices. It takes them away from the environment and the people around you who are currently controlling your life, and gives it back to you. So I don't want you to see it as a negative anymore. I don't want you to see it as a constraint. It is a self-imposed limit that you are choosing to limit the outside world and what impacts you, so that you can be the best you and live your best life. Yeah. Sometimes it can feel like a restriction, so you need to change your perspective. You need to change the story because it's giving you control. Yeah. So off you go. Create some limits. Live your best life. Do all the great things and be happy and healthy. And if you want more of these amazing episodes, then, press all the buttons, like, share, subscribe, all the things, so you can keep up to date on all the new episodes that come out. And if you want to stay in contact with me and get more great resources, trainings, and conversation, join me in the Female Leaders Thriving with Chronic Fatigue Facebook group, where you get all my hot tips. See you there.